Hi guys! Last year we made a version of this blanket, the blanket that you see right here in this very same color with this very same yarn on a zippy loom. And we promised at that time that I was going to make another one with the kids that we made by using the finger knit method to kind of compare how we think they turned out, if we think that one way was easier than the other, just kind of a comparison so that you can see which way that you'd like to try it first, if it's something that you're interested in trying. Now, if you've been here before, you know that the purpose of my channel is not to give you a tutorial and tell you all the things that you need to know, even though, if you're a quick learner, you might just pick it up and be able to make one at the end of the video as well. But the main goal is to see if we can make things fun, quickly, and sellable, so that we do that for you and you can see if it's something that you'd even be interested in trying for, yourself or for the same purposes. All right, so what we're going to do now is I'm going to switch over and let you see us in the process of making the blanket, and then we'll come back here and I'll do a quick comparison of what I think about this blanket and this blanket, what I think about the way that we made them, what was easier, what was nicer, and how they work. I'll give you an update on how that one held up in a house with quite a few children, a dog, a few other animals hanging around. That gets a lot of use. All right, so we'll be back. All right, so first things first, this is our yarn. I used a lot less equipment than I had to use last time with the zippy loom. Just my hands, and then when you get to the end, you just need a pair of scissors. I discovered that when you get to the end, you're not really going to need the big yarn needle. So what we have here is what we started with, the Yarn Bee yarn from Hobby Lobby. The same amount of yarn. I had 6 skeins and gonna start with it making a chain. And when I made my chain, I'm gonna do that by simply making a slip knot and then chaining as many as you want across. Now, I planned on doing 30 across. 30 chains, and when you do that, you want to make sure that your chains are actually all pretty consistent in size. I will also say that on this end, if you chain it a little bit more loosely and you measure, you're going to come up with a lot better of a blanket when you get to the other end, because as you're doing your cast off, you can measure to make sure that you're making it about the same size on the opposite end. And when we get there, we'll talk about that, but you want to leave it loose at that other end on your last set of stitches, which again are all going to be very consistent, or you're going to attempt to make them consistent throughout this whole blanket, about the same size as your original chain, because you'll start to get a little bit tighter, in my opinion. And then when you get to the end, you're going to make those stitches about a 1/2 inch bigger than these originals. So you just kind of guess at what you want, and you guess at how many chains you're going to make across, and then you're going to go from there. And as you can see, I started to chain it, and then I took it off, and then I did it again because I wanted to make sure that my stitches were nice and consistent, or consistent enough, because I knew the kids were going to be working on it too, and then go from there. All right, so we get to that point. We make the chain, we're gonna lay it out flat, and then we're gonna start to move across. So here we are, and we're starting that process. Now, again, you wanna make your chains fairly consistent, so you're going through each loop with about the same, or not your chains, your stitches that are on your chain, so you're gonna go through each loop individually, one by one, just pulling them forward. And then when you wanna get to the end, you're gonna wanna count. You're going to want to count the number of stitches that you have to make sure that you haven't skipped a stitch. So you pull through one, then you pull through the next, then you pull through the next, and you just keep going. My advice on where the yarn should be when you pull it through, you don't want to have it and have to keep pulling it back in the direction of the stitches. So as you can see, my yarn is always going in the direction that we're working. Again, having several kids here working on this with me, sometimes I switch sides. So I know that Kid A's stitches are going to be different from Kid B's stitches. Actually, my stitches are going to be different from my own stitches half the time, because I'm not that consistent. So you want to switch it up if you have someone else working on it with you. If you're doing it by yourself, your stitches are all going to be fairly consistent, so you can just keep going. So as I said, put the yarn in the direction that you're working in. That's what we did. And then when you get to the end of each row, count.
Now I'm going to admit something here. I thought we counted at the end of each row, but did we really? Maybe not, because we skipped a few stitches. However, they were pretty easy to fix in the end by just kind of sewing them in. Again, this blanket's not going anywhere. It's a tester blanket, so, you know, we skipped a few stitches. I just sewed them in, and the kids are going to use this thing anyway, so that's just fine. Other than that, make sure you count and that you don't do what we did and forget to count on a few rows and miss a few stitches. We tried, but we didn't always get there. From top to bottom, this blanket took about an hour and a half. So you see, when we get to the end of a skein, we just tie the next one on and we keep going. So an hour and a half to get through 6 of those, tying them on as we go. Make your knot however you want. If you want to try and do a magic knot, that's fine. We just tied it on because, again, it's fairly easy with this yarn to just take a regular needle and thread at the end, because it is so fluffy, and you can hide that and not have to weave your ends in with the yarn. You can just kind of stitch the yarn together. And that seemed to be worked pretty well. Yeah, I just took a nap there. As you can see, we were pretty exhausted. Again, not going to do this on the floor on a blanket again, which is how we did it. Laid the blanket out flat, laid the work across so that it was nice and neat. But that entailed sitting on the floor. And I forget how old I am until I sit on the floor and my hips have a hissy fit. So there it is. 6 skeins. You get to the end. You have all the kids helping. You roll the work toward yourself as you get there. And now we're going to compare.
Okay, so we're back for the comparison part of the video. And if you remember, last year in our video, we had a little visitor. Hi, buddy. He wanted to come back and recreate.
Hi.
So there we have our little
My
friend.
teeth are gone, so it
Yes.
might not look the same.
Right, he's lost his teeth, so it might
And
not
I'm
look the
wearing
same.
different shirt.
Different shirt for this video than from last video. Is there anything else you want to say before I finish making the blanket comparison? What? What thing? What did we do?
Wear like strips and stuff.
Where you stretch a sock? We don't have a sock for you to stretch right now. The unmatched. Oh, so did you bring a sock? No. So we won't do the sock. You're gonna go get a sock. Okay. He's gonna get a sock. Hold on. Oh, he's prepared.
Today we're going to knit a blankie.
Okay. So he remembers. He remembers pretty much everything we did. So if he can sit here with me for a minute, and we'll see if he can, I'll do a little comparison. Do you want to stay with me, or do you want to go out?
I'm going to start knitting.
Okay, he's going to figure knit this blanket.
I'm going to start
So
knitting.
as far as the comparison goes, this is my finger knit blanket. It is a little bit looser. The stitches are a little bit looser, which, I don't know, you might think it kind of makes it a little cozier, a little fluffier, maybe. Our blanket from last year, the zippy loom blanket. What are you doing?
I'm chewing that little.
You're chewing the icon. They won't see that when you do the video. They won't see it. The one from last year, tighter stitches. They're still tighter, even though it's been washed about 1,000,000 times. If you kind of can see it right here, it looks a little matted and mashed because it's been washed, but the kids still love it and the kids still use it. Now, would I make this and try to sell it? Absolutely not. And the reason that I would not try to sell it is because of things like that. If you want a blanket that's cozy, that's great. And if you want it to just sit there, that's great. But it's not very practical. And in my house, we need practical. As you can see, we have people climbing on things and doing things all day and night, don't we, buddy? Yes.
I do them.
You do. You climb on a lot, right? And we use our things. So I wouldn't sell it, because if it's sold and you had an end that came out after it'd been washed 50 times, which is going to happen and has happened with that one, but it doesn't matter if it's just in our house. So if you want a cozy blanket, go for it. Which method did I prefer? I prefer the way the stitches looked on the zippy loom. I think it took us a little bit longer on the zippy loom. Actually, I know it took us a little bit longer on the zippy loom. I did like the finger knit because it was so super fast and easy, but I wouldn't do it sitting on the floor again. As I said, at a table probably would be the way that I would do it. So was it fun? Yes. Was it quick? Yes. Was it easy? Absolutely easy. Would I try and make it sellable? I wouldn't, because I don't think it's practical, and I think if people want to buy something,
I'm finished knitting the blankie.
They don't want to buy something that's not practical. All right. What do you want to say?
I finished knitting the blankie.
Very good. What did you say last time at the end?
Oh, I said, bye.
Uh-huh.
Welcome back to our channel.
You said that. And also you said,
Subscribe for more videos.
That's what you said. All right, buddy. Thanks.